So hey there, Pixel Enemy Revive. My name is Xiant, and today I want to talk about map design. Before we begin, I want to apologize for the No Shark Canals gameplay, but as much as you guys have probably seen it on the various channels, I think it's appropriate for my discussion. One of the key features of any multiplayer game is of course the maps, and one of the problems people have with Battlefield 3 is the map design. And I've always been curious as to why, especially in TDM, No Shark Canals and Karg Island are essentially all you see. As someone who wants to design video games rather than just play them, I have to think about more than just strategies on how I can win a particular gunfight. I have to look at inconsistencies in Battlefield 3's map design, and there are certainly inconsistencies, and figure out exactly why those inconsistencies exist, and if they're purposeful or if they're errors in design. When I say inconsistency, I'm talking primarily about the speed of gameplay. When you talk about maps like No Shark Canals or Karg Island TDM, those are generally faster, quicker killing games. And then compare these with vehicle-heavy conquest maps like Firestorm or Caspian or Strike at Karkan or Gulf of Oman in particular. These maps are so large that even with 64 players, battles are generally few and far between, and so there's a lot of downtime, a lot of walking around not doing much of anything. Even TDM on the big maps can become boring and, well, tedious at times. So the question I have to answer is quite simple. Why? And I think the answer lies in two main factors, one of which is obvious because of the topic I'm talking about, map design. But I also think it comes from the weapon balancing that DICE has tried to implement with Battlefield 3. Another topic of some controversy, DICE decided that they wanted to up the base damage of all weapons, thus making them kill faster. This wouldn't be so much of a problem if the hit detection was as piss poor as, say, Battlefield Bad Company 2 or Battlefield 2, though I never actually played that game. I've heard the detection itself is bad. And while the hit detection in Battlefield 3 isn't great, it's better than it was in Bad Company 2 for the most part, and so deaths happen quicker and with more frequency. For example, most assault rifles do 25 damage at minimum range and 17 at maximum range. And because their rate of fires are fairly quick in most cases, death is usually less than a quarter of a second. This of course doesn't factor in the G3, any shotguns, sniper rifles, or other exceptions to the rule. Couple this increased damage model with some smaller, tighter maps like Metro or Bazaar or Karg Island TDM, and you have, insta-deaths as far as the player is concerned, and couple that with sometimes shoddy hit notification, and you just sort of die at random intervals that have no good explanation. The question then becomes, if this is the case, why aren't the huge maps, if not as fast, but faster than they feel when you're playing? And I think it has to come down to troop concentration. When you go back to Bad Company 2, and you look at what people consider to be the best maps, regardless of their actual quality, and you look at the way they're laid out, you see that the choke points aren't actually choke points, but rather concentrations of high priority targets. So for example, on Valparaiso, though there are long distances that the infantry needs to run to get certain places, they're never running so far that the game slows down. There's never a lack of action, in other words. You can look at the iconic Conquest map from BC2, Eric Harbor. While there were places in that map where you could potentially not see anything for a good amount of time, again, it was never nearly as drastic as something like Conquest, even regular Conquest, on Operation Firestorm. And the argument exists that that's mainly because Operation Firestorm is a vehicle map. It's made ostensibly for Conquest Large, when you've got 5 helicopters in the air, 3 jets trying to kill the helicopters trying to kill the jets, the tanks on the ground trying to kill the helicopters and the jets to get those sick montage clips, infantry on the ground going, holy crap, I'm gonna die, and then everything is just sort of chaos as far as the vehicles are concerned. Whereas there were no vehicles except for the infantry moving vehicles on Erica Harbor, and those had no combat effectiveness in the grand scheme of things. What hampers Battlefield 3 the most as far as map design is concerned is DICE's desire to keep every map in every game mode. A noble effort to be sure, and almost required considering the fact that there are only 9 base Battlefield 3 maps. But when your map must accommodate TDM, Squad Deathmatch, Rush, Conquest, and occasionally Conquest Large, there are sacrifices you need to make in the design process to make sure that the balance is retained across all modes. And unfortunately, this leads to Battlefield 3's almost signature design philosophy: we need more choke points. And because of the prevalence of bipods and extended mat LMGs, a higher damage model, slightly better hit detection depending on your connection, and you have what essentially amounts to grind fests in a lot of the game modes. So do I think that Battlefield 3 would be 10 times better with 10 times better maps? No. It would probably be about 5 times better with 10 times better maps. There are other issues DICE has to work out first, many of which have been discussed in greater detail and better by better commentators than myself. But for right now, I'm just going to leave it at that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.